Hey everyone, it's Justine, the Twilight Stamper, designing today for the Create a Smile stamp video blog team. And today we're going to be creating this really cute underwater card featuring the Underwater Love and Wild Water stamp sets that are a new release from May. And so we're going to get started here. I'm going to use the Chipped Sapphire Mini Distress ink. I'm using the blending tool and a tag from Ranger, and I'm going into the bottom of the tag because I want it to go from dark to light and create sort of an ombre appearance. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to just continue to build in that color back and forth by doing a circular motion and starting off the mat so I don't get any lines from my foam. And I'm going to continue using the different colors. Next up, I'm going to be using Mermaid Lagoon, and I'm just using my bigger foam brush here, not for any particular reason, just because I have the color that fits it in the sponge. And then I'm going to go in with the Salty Ocean. And you can see how all of these colors really blend quite nicely together. And lastly, I'm going in with Tumbled Glass. Now this one here didn't blend as well because it's quite a light color, but overall it worked out once I kept building in the color from the sides and then worked my way in from the top of the tag. Next up, I grabbed the Wild Water stamp set, and what I'm doing is taking my mini mister and I'm spraying it with water. So I did not put any ink on the stamp set whatsoever. So literally just stamping with water, I put the stamp onto my stamp press, sprayed some water on it, and then stamped it onto my card. And I pushed down as hard as I could and kind of got all the water in there. And you'll see this slowly how that changes the tag and reacts with the ink. So now you can see it after it's dried. You can see how well that actually stamped in there and made the distress inks kind of blend away or into each other. Now I'm just going to take the top of the tag off because I'm going to be using this in my card. So I cut this down originally to 2.5, and I believe I ended up cutting it down to 2 after a while because it ended up being too big for my card. And it's by 5.5. Alright, so next up I'm going to take the narwhals from the stamp set, the Underwater Love stamp set, and pick them up using my stamp press. I want them to be a little bit away from each other because I like to color outside the lines. It just makes things go faster. I ink that up with Memento ink, which is a Copic-friendly ink, and stamp them onto my piece of scrap cardstock here. Next up, I'm going to color these babies with my Copic markers. I go in with my lightest color, leaving a bit blank. Go into the medium shade, and then I follow up with the dark shade. I'm using N0, N2, and N4 for this. And then I go back in with the medium and then the light shade again and color the whole thing in. When I finished coloring, I ended up cutting them out and then running my black marker along the edge of the narwhal so that it gave it a really crisp look on the edges. I'm going to take these bubbles next, and I'm using my Versamark ink and I'm stamping them all along the panel we created in the beginning. I'm personally just going for a random look and not going completely to the bottom. Next up, I'm going to take my white embossing powder and I'm going to put that on there, and this is Ranger Ultrafine Embossing Powder, and I'm going to emboss it using my heat tool. As you watch in fast motion, you'll see the white embossing powder change to how it should be when it's dry. Next, I ended up attaching my narwhals using some 3D foam tape onto the panel. You can also wait until the panel's glued onto the actual cardstock or onto the card base itself before doing this, but I didn't really find it necessary. I put the baby just slightly underneath the mother. This is my card base. It measures 11 by 4¼ inches, and I scored it at 5.5 and folded it to make a top folding card. This is going to be a really quite clean and simple card with only this panel as a layer. Using my Tombow Mono liquid adhesive, I put a lot of glue on the back of this and then attached it to the card itself. You have to make sure it lines nicely from top to bottom, and if there's a space at all, you can trim off a piece of your card. The last step I had to do was create my sentiment, and I was really wanting to do a speech bubble from the whale's mouth. I don't have a speech bubble die cut though, unfortunately. It's something I'm going to have to look into getting, but I did have one on my Cricut, luckily, and I cut out these pieces, and it says, "I'd cross an ocean for you," and this is also a part of that same stamp set we've been using all along. Remember, the complete supply list is in the description, as well as in my blog. I have clickable links to each of the products if you're looking to get any of these today. So now that I've stamped my sentiment, the next thing I needed to do was attach it to my card. Now we have to attach those little tiny pieces. I found the easiest way to do that was to use my tweezers, dip it in a little bit of glue that I put onto my craft mat, and then attach it to my card. I did get a little bit of excess glue on there that I had to remove before I set down the little part of the speech bubble. So I put 2 of those little dots on here, even though the shape only came with 1, so I cut out an extra one. And then I attached the speech bubble using 3 pieces of 3D foam tape. So a tip from me to you is to make sure that you're using the same paper for your card base as you're using the same white paper for your speech bubble. As you can see, I accidentally grabbed the wrong sheet of paper and my sentiment is slightly grayer tone than my card base. It's not a big deal, it's something I noticed and probably not a lot of other people, but that's just a mistake you might want to avoid. So I hope you enjoyed this card and thank you so much everyone for watching. Please click the thumbs up and check out Create a Smile's website for more details on this project.